Your neighbor's hydrangea is still green in September. Yours already gave up in July. You did everything the tag told you. Full sun, water twice a week, blue fertilizer every spring like the garden center guy said. And still, by the time the rest of the block turns gold and red, your hydrangea bed is just a pile of tired leaves. Nobody told you the truth. Most hydrangeas sold at big box stores are built for one thing: looking good on the shelf in May. Not for October. Not for you. I've spent years watching which hydrangeas actually earn their space in a lazy person's garden. The kind of garden you don't baby every weekend. The kind that still looks intentional even after you've skipped 2 waterings in a row. And there are 11 of them that flat out refuse to quit. Plant number 7 alone will make your porch the one everybody photographs in October, and it's already vanishing from nurseries. Today, I'm giving you 11 hydrangeas, planted once, blooming from July straight through the first frost, almost no maintenance required. Before we start, drop your USDA zone in the comments. 2 of these plants only work if your winters actually get cold, and I want to tell you which ones to skip. I read every comment. Number 1, Firelight. If your hydrangea scorches by August, this is the fix. Most people assume every paniculata handles full sun the same way. It doesn't. Firelight was bred as the internal sun tolerance benchmark for the entire Proven Winners paniculata line, meaning every plant released after it gets measured against this one. The mistake gardeners make is planting it in dappled shade, thinking they're being cautious. Less sun means fewer flowers and weaker stems, the opposite of protection. Give it 6 hours of direct sun minimum and expect blooms that shift from creamy white to a deep pomegranate red by October. Zones 3 to 8 down to -40 Fahrenheit. Compare that to endless summer, which turns to mush below zone 4, and you'll understand why Firelight is the one that survives a real winter. Extension offices in Minnesota and Wisconsin have flagged it for years as one of the few paniculatas that keeps full color all the way through a hard fall frost, instead of just browning off. Picture this. Late October, the leaves on every other tree in the neighborhood are already down. You walk out with your coffee and the low morning light hits the Firelight hedge sideways. And for a second, the whole thing genuinely looks like it's glowing red from the inside. That's not a filter. That's just what the plant does in year 2. Number 2, Little Lime Punch. This is Little Lime's bigger, punchier cousin, and almost nobody stocks it yet. The common mistake is buying the original Little Lime expecting deep color. Punch was specifically selected for a stronger red-purple flush that the original genetics never delivered. The mechanism is simple. More anthocyanin and pigment builds up as nights cool, so the color show gets better the later you look. Prune it back by 1/3 in late winter for the biggest cluster size. It blooms on new wood, so hard pruning never costs you flowers. Grows a compact 3 to 5 feet, perfect for a foundation planting instead of a full hedge. Zones 3 to 8. Side by side with the original, you can spot the difference by August. One still looks pastel, the other looks like it's actually trying. Every one of these plants gets planted once and left alone. If that sounds like your kind of gardening, hit subscribe. I put out one of these lists every week. Number 3, Fire Fab. This is the earliest bloomer on today's list, flowering nearly a month before Limelight even starts. What almost nobody explains is why. Fire Fab was bred from stock selected for early bud set, so it starts its color change while other paniculatas are still green. The mistake people make is planting it expecting a small, tidy shrub, then being shocked when it reaches 8 feet with a spread to match. Give it real room. At least 6 feet from the house or fence line. Flowers open white in June, shift to a rich rose red by August, weeks ahead of schedule. Zones 3 to 8, full sun. I've had gardeners tell me they assume something was wrong with their plant because it was blooming while the neighbor's Limelight hadn't even budded. When really, it's just doing exactly what it was bred to do. Number 4, Bobo. If you only have a small bed or a narrow side yard, this solves it. Bobo tops out around 3 feet. The mistake gardeners make is judging it by height and assuming fewer flowers. The opposite is true. Breeders selected Bobo for flower density relative to plant size. So a mature Bobo can be almost entirely covered in blooms, more cluster coverage per square foot than most full-size paniculatas. Deadheading isn't required. The spent white blooms age to a soft tan that still looks intentional through fall. Full sun to part shade, zones 3 to 8. Compare it to dwarf vanilla strawberry, which needs more consistent moisture to avoid wilting. Bobo tolerates mist waterings far better. It's become a favorite for foundation lines under front windows, specifically because it stays low enough to never block the view. Number 5. Limelight Prime. The original Limelight has a flaw nobody wants to admit. The stems flop under heavy rain once the flower heads get large. Limelight Prime exists specifically to fix that. It was bred with reinforced, thicker stems and a more compact habit. So the same lime green to pink transition happens without the plant collapsing into your walkway after a storm. Prime needs zero staking. The mistake is planting the original, expecting the same performance, then wondering why every August thunderstorm leaves you staking flowers back up. Landscapers who install these along fence lines and driveways specifically choose Prime over the original now for exactly this reason: less callback work after a storm. Number 6. Vanilla Strawberry. This one earns its spot for pure two-tone drama. The clusters open pure white, then blush from the base upward into deep strawberry pink. So a single plant shows 3 shades at once by late August. The common mistake is planting it in poor soil and expecting garden center color, when in reality, vanilla strawberry needs consistent moisture the first 2 seasons. Skimping on water gives you a washed-out, mostly white plant. Mulch heavily and water deeply once a week the first year. Grows 6 to 7 feet. Once it's established, though, this is one of the few paniculatas that tolerates a missed week of watering in a heat wave without dropping its color show. Comment below which hydrangea on this list would actually survive on your porch, blue tag or not. I want to know your honest answer. Number 7. Pinky Winky Prime. This is the plant that gets your neighbors asking questions. Regular Pinky Winky already does the bicolor thing. But Prime was selected for stronger stems and a noticeably more compact frame, meaning the same striking bicolor look fits in a smaller bed. The mechanism behind the color split is temperature-driven. Cooler fall nights trigger the pink pigment to develop faster at the base. The mistake is cutting it back hard in fall, thinking you're tidying up, which removes next year's structure since this blooms on new wood. It benefits from late winter shaping instead. Zones 3 to 8, 5 to 6 feet, full sun. Number 8. Strawberry Sundae. Built for containers, and this matters if you're gardening on a balcony with 0 yard. The mistake almost every container gardener makes is undersizing the pot, then wondering why the plant declines. Roots need real room. Under 15 gallons and the soil dries too fast between waterings, stressing the plant until it weakens. Give it a proper container. And this thing tolerates cold. Most container plants can't, down to -40 in the ground, and still reliably surviving a Chicago balcony winter. Stop fertilizing by mid-August. Later feeding pushes soft new growth that the first frost kills outright, weakening the plant. Number 9. Gatsby Star. This is the plant that makes people stop and lean in. Unlike every paniculata on this list, Gatsby Star is an oakleaf hydrangea. Here's the mistake that costs people an entire season of flowers: pruning it in fall or winter. Gatsby Star blooms on old wood. One wrong cut in November and you lose every bloom for the year. Only prune right after flowering fades in midsummer. It tolerates more shade. In fall, the oak-shaped leaves turn a deep burgundy that almost looks black at dusk. So even after the florets fade, you're left with a plant that's still doing something. Number 10. Invincibelle Wee White. This is a smooth hydrangea, arborescens, not paniculata, and it solves a different problem: deer pressure. The mistake gardeners make near wooded lots is losing buds to deer. Wee White's dense, compact branching makes it less appealing to deer. It also blooms on new wood, so any winter damage barely matters. Cut it back hard in late winter, and it flowers fully the same year. Tops out around 2 to 3 feet. Number 11. Schizophragma Moonlight. I'm ending on this one because it isn't technically a hydrangea, it's a close cousin, and it's the plant almost nobody has seen. It's a climbing vine with heart-shaped silver leaves that catch light like real moonlight against a wall, and lace-cap flower clusters that carry a genuine fragrance. The mistake people make is expecting fast results and giving up in year 1. This plant follows a slow build, small growth first 2 years, then a real show by year 4. Plant it at least 2 feet off the wall so roots have room, and don't touch it with pruners in fall or winter. It blooms on old wood. Climbs 30 feet or more. Here's your complete lazy gardener checklist. Firelight for brutal sun. Little Lime Punch for compact color. Quick Fire Fab for early blooms, Bobo for tight spaces, Limelight Prime for storm-proof stems, Vanilla Strawberry for two-tone drama, Pinky Winky Prime for a smaller footprint, and Strawberry Sundae for containers. Gatsby Star for shade and texture, Invincibelle Wee White for deer pressure, and Schizophragma Moonlight for the plant nobody else on your street has. You don't need a green thumb for any of this. You don't need a weekend free every week. You need to pick 2 or 3 of these and plant them correctly. Every plant on this list was chosen because it forgives you, forgives a missed watering, forgives a bad soil year, forgives the fact that you have a life. August is the window. The soil is still warm enough to push root growth, and the cooler nights ahead mean less transplant stress than planting in spring. Wait until spring and you're a full season behind. Plant this month, and by next fall, you're the house on the block still holding color when everyone else has packed it in. What's your USDA zone? And which one of these 11 are you actually planting this month? I read every comment. Tell me honestly. Subscribe for one of these lists every week. Now go check how many hours of real sun that bare spot by your fence actually gets, because that's the only thing standing between you and a garden that's still blooming after everyone else's has quit.